Have you ever wondered why so many women, after decades of marriage, find themselves feeling frustrated, unseen, or even resentful toward their husbands? What starts as a loving partnership can slowly shift into emotional distance, silent resentment, and a painful sense of being taken for granted. But why does this happen? Is it inevitable, or can it be prevented? In this video, we'll uncover the deep-rooted reasons behind this growing discontent. Reasons that may surprise you. Understanding these patterns could change the way you see your own relationship and reveal the key to rekindling lost connection. Stay with me to learn more. One of the biggest reasons women begin to resent their husbands over time is the unacknowledged burden of emotional labor. While emotional labor is often invisible, its weight can feel overwhelming. It's not just about cooking meals, doing laundry, or keeping the house clean. It's about all the unseen mental and emotional work that holds a marriage and a household together. Think about everything that goes into maintaining a family's well-being. Remembering birthdays and anniversaries, keeping track of appointments, managing the social calendar, and making sure everyone's emotional needs are met. Women often find themselves acting as the caretakers, not only for their children, but for their husbands as well. They are the ones who smooth over conflicts, maintain family connections, and ensure that life runs smoothly. For many women, this pattern starts early in the marriage. In the beginning, they handle these tasks out of love and a desire to create a happy home. But over time, something shifts. The responsibilities don't decrease, but the appreciation does. Their efforts are no longer acknowledged, they are simply expected. And as the years pass, resentment begins to build. Take the story of Carol, a 72-year-old retired teacher. For decades, she balanced raising 3 children, managing a home, and working full-time, all while making sure her husband's life remained smooth and comfortable. Every holiday, she planned the meals. Every birthday, she picked out the perfect gifts. She kept up with friendships for both of them, ensured family traditions continued, and remembered the little details that made life feel special. But as she grew older, she realized something. No one had ever done the same for her. Her husband had never once asked if she needed help or thanked her for everything she did. He had simply assumed it was her role, and she had fulfilled it without complaint. Now, decades later, she didn't feel loved. She felt exhausted. What makes emotional labor so frustrating is that it often goes unnoticed. A woman can spend her entire marriage ensuring that everything runs smoothly, only to realize that her husband never truly saw the effort behind it. And when a husband doesn't acknowledge the countless ways his wife has supported him, he may never understand why she has grown distant, irritable, or resentful. It's not that she has changed. It's that she has reached her limit. In the early years of marriage, small gestures of appreciation, like a simple thank you or a heartfelt compliment, may have been enough. But as time passes, many husbands fall into a dangerous pattern, assuming that their wives will always take care of everything without effort on their part. At first, a wife might dismiss her frustrations. She tells herself that she's just tired or that it's not worth making a fuss. But as the years go by, the feeling of being unappreciated becomes unbearable. What once felt like an act of love begins to feel like an obligation. And when a woman feels like she is expected to manage everything, rather than appreciated for doing so, the warmth in the relationship fades. This is where resentment begins to take hold. Many women don't just wake up one day and decide they are unhappy in their marriage. Resentment is built in small moments, over years of feeling unseen. It's built in the thousands of tasks they've done without acknowledgement. It's built in the quiet realization that no one is looking out for them the way they have always looked out for everyone else. Over time, a marriage that once felt like a partnership can start to feel more like a job. A woman who has spent decades tending to her husband's needs while receiving little emotional support in return may begin to feel more like a caretaker than a wife. And when that shift happens, love begins to fade, replaced by frustration, exhaustion, and even regret. The truth is, a marriage is not just about financial support. It's about emotional effort. Many men assume that if they have worked hard to provide for their families, they have done their part. But love and partnership require more than just financial contributions. Women need to feel valued, seen, and emotionally supported. If you've ever felt like your contributions to your marriage have gone unnoticed, or like your emotional labor is taken for granted, know that you are not alone. This is something that countless women experience, often without realizing it until years have passed. And here's where the hope lies. Recognition is the first step toward change. When men become aware of the emotional weight their wives have carried, they have the opportunity to shift the dynamic, to show appreciation, to take on more responsibility, and to rebuild the connection that may have been lost. You are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable. Please comment below to let me know you are here. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Your support helps us continue to create good content to inform and inspire you. If this discussion resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt like your emotional labor has been taken for granted? What small changes do you think could make a difference in long-term marriages? Let's start a conversation, because recognizing the problem is the first step toward building a healthier, more fulfilling relationship. In our last discussion, we explored one of the biggest reasons why women begin to feel frustrated and resentful toward their husbands over time: the unacknowledged burden of emotional labor. For years, many women take on the responsibility of managing the household, maintaining relationships, and ensuring everyone's needs are met, often without appreciation. When their efforts go unnoticed, they begin to feel emotionally drained and unimportant in their own marriages. But this is just the beginning of a much deeper issue. When a woman spends years feeling unseen and unappreciated, another painful shift begins to take place. She no longer feels like a wife. Instead, she starts to feel like she is simply coexisting with her husband, as if they are roommates rather than life partners. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, almost unnoticeable at first. But over time, the warmth, excitement, and connection that once made a marriage feel special begin to fade, leaving behind a relationship that feels distant, empty, and routine. Many couples start their marriages filled with passion, deep conversations, and a genuine curiosity about each other. In the beginning, they make an effort to connect. They laugh together, share dreams, and spend quality time building a strong emotional bond. But over the years, something changes. At first, it may be small, a few missed opportunities for meaningful conversations, a lack of shared interests, or a growing focus on responsibilities rather than connection. Then routines take over. The days start looking the same. Wake up, complete household tasks, manage responsibilities, eat dinner, watch TV, and go to bed. While this may seem normal, the problem arises when emotional intimacy is no longer a priority. Without realizing it, many couples stop engaging with each other on a deep level. They continue to live together, but they stop truly seeing each other. Instead of being lovers and best friends, they become two people sharing the same space, functioning like business partners rather than life partners. Take Linda, a 69-year-old retired nurse. In the early years of her marriage, she and her husband had a deep connection. They enjoyed long walks, meaningful conversations, and shared interests that brought them closer. But as the years passed, things changed. Her husband became more absorbed in his routines, watching TV, focusing on work, and spending more time on personal interests rather than on their relationship. At first, Linda tried to reignite their connection. She planned special outings, started conversations about their future, and expressed her desire for more intimacy. But each time she reached out, she was met with indifference. Her husband didn't argue with her, but he also didn't engage. He saw nothing wrong with the way things were, and over time, she stopped trying. One day, Linda realized something heartbreaking. She felt completely alone in her own marriage. They still lived under the same roof, ate meals together, and went about their daily routines. But the deep connection they once had was gone. She no longer felt like a wife, she felt like a housemate. One of the reasons this shift happens so often in long-term marriages is that many men don't see the problem. They assume that as long as there is no major conflict, everything must be fine. But for women, emotional intimacy is just as important as physical intimacy. They need to feel desired, appreciated, and truly seen by their partners. When a husband stops making an effort, stops asking about his wife's feelings, stops engaging in meaningful conversations, stops showing affection, he slowly creates emotional distance. This distance doesn't happen because a woman suddenly stops loving her husband. It happens because she no longer feels loved in return. Many women don't give up on their marriages easily. They try, They express their needs. They ask for more connection. They look for ways to bring back the closeness they once had. But if their requests for attention and intimacy are ignored or dismissed, they eventually stop asking. And when a woman stops trying to reconnect, that emotional distance becomes permanent. Over time, this lack of connection leads to frustration and resentment. She may still care about her husband, but she no longer feels emotionally safe with him. She no longer sees him as her partner in life, but rather as someone she simply shares a home with. Routine is necessary in life, but when a relationship becomes only about routines, it loses its spark. Many couples fall into the trap of thinking that just being present in the same house is enough. But love is not self-sustaining. It requires effort, growth, and attention. When a man assumes that the relationship will take care of itself without any intentional effort, he unknowingly creates emotional neglect. A woman who once felt like a cherished wife now feels like just another person in the house. And when that happens, love begins to fade. The good news is that emotional distance doesn't have to be permanent. If a husband starts paying attention, showing appreciation, and actively engaging with his wife again, the relationship can begin to heal. Here are a few ways to start. Make time for real conversations. Not just about chores or responsibilities, but about feelings, thoughts, and dreams. Express appreciation regularly. Small compliments, words of gratitude, and acts of kindness make a huge difference. Prioritize affection. A gentle touch, a hug, or even holding hands can reignite emotional closeness. Show genuine interest in your partner's life. Ask questions, listen deeply, and stay engaged in their personal growth. Break the routine. Do something different together. A weekend getaway, a shared hobby, or a surprise date night. You are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable? Please comment below to let me know you are here. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Your support helps us continue to create good content to inform and inspire you. Have you ever felt like your marriage has turned into a roommate relationship? What small changes do you think could help bring back emotional closeness? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. Stay tuned, because in the next section, we'll dive even deeper into another major cause of resentment in long-term marriages: the accumulation of unresolved conflicts and how they slowly erode a woman's sense of connection and happiness over time. In our last discussion, we explored how emotional distance can creep into a marriage, turning loving partners into mere roommates. This shift often begins when a woman feels unappreciated for her emotional labor, and over time, she withdraws emotionally as her efforts go unnoticed. However, emotional distance is rarely the only issue at play. Unresolved conflicts build up over the years, adding layers of frustration, disappointment, and resentment. Many couples assume that if they don't fight often, their marriage is stable. But here's the truth. Silence does not mean peace. In fact, unspoken frustrations and buried conflicts are some of the most damaging forces in long-term relationships. In every marriage, disagreements are inevitable. A forgotten anniversary, a dismissive comment, an unmet expectation. On their own, these things might seem minor. At first, a woman may let them go, believing that they're not worth arguing about. But when these small hurts are never acknowledged, apologized for, or resolved, they accumulate over time. A marriage isn't weakened by one major fight. It's weakened by years of small, unresolved wounds. Each time a woman's feelings are dismissed, each time she is told she's overreacting or making a big deal out of nothing, she internalizes that message. Over time, she stops bringing things up at all, not because they don't matter, but because she has lost hope that her concerns will ever be heard. Take Patricia, a 74-year-old retired accountant. On the outside, she and her husband had what seemed like a stable, long-lasting marriage. But internally, she carried years of unresolved frustrations. She remembered the early days when she would bring up her feelings, how she wished he would be more affectionate, how she felt lonely when he spent more time with his hobbies than with her. Each time, he would brush her off with a casual, "You worry too much," or "We're fine, stop overthinking." Over the years, this pattern repeated. She stopped expecting apologies. She stopped believing that expressing her needs would lead to change. And eventually, she stopped seeing her husband as someone she could emotionally rely on. On the surface, their marriage looked peaceful. They didn't fight, they didn't raise their voices, but there was a deep, unspoken wall between them. Patricia still lived with her husband, still shared meals with him, still played the role of a wife, but in her heart, she felt alone. Many men assume that if their wife is not arguing, everything must be fine. They mistake silence for contentment, when in reality, silence is often a sign that a woman has given up on being heard. This is one of the most dangerous points in a marriage. When a woman stops communicating her frustrations, it doesn't mean they no longer exist. It means she no longer believes the relationship can change. At this stage, a husband might not even realize that his wife is emotionally checked out. He may not notice that the warmth is gone, that the intimacy is fading, that his wife no longer looks at him the way she used to. And when he finally does realize it, it may feel too late to rebuild the connection. Avoiding conflict might seem like a way to maintain harmony, but ignoring issues only allows resentment to grow. Many women hold on to hurt not because they want to, but because they never received closure. A relationship built on unspoken frustrations becomes fragile over time. The weight of unresolved conflict slowly drains the joy, the passion, and the deep emotional connection that once existed. The good news? It's never too late to start addressing these issues. Here are some steps couples can take to break the cycle of unresolved conflict. Acknowledge past hurts. A simple, heartfelt conversation about past disappointments can help clear the emotional weight that has been carried for years. Listen without defensiveness. When a woman shares her frustrations, she's not attacking her husband. She's asking to be heard. True healing starts with listening and validating her feelings. Apologize sincerely. A genuine apology, even for something that happened years ago, can make a world of difference. It's never too late to say, "I see how that hurt you, and I'm sorry." Commit to ongoing effort. Healing doesn't happen in one conversation. It requires a consistent effort to rebuild trust, emotional safety, and mutual appreciation. You are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable. Please comment below to let me know you are here. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Your support helps us continue to create good content to inform and inspire you. Have you ever experienced the pain of unresolved conflicts in your marriage? How did it affect your relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. In our next discussion, we'll explore another key reason why resentment grows in long-term marriages. When a woman's priorities change, but her husband remains stagnant. Stay tuned to learn how this shift can create emotional distance and how to prevent it before it's too late. In our last discussion, we explored how unresolved conflicts build up over time, silently eroding love and trust in a marriage. When a woman's concerns are dismissed repeatedly, she eventually stops trying to be heard. This emotional withdrawal deepens the divide between partners, making her feel increasingly disconnected. But the story doesn't end there. As women age, they go through significant personal growth and shifts in priorities. Yet many husbands fail to notice or adapt to these changes. What once felt like a fulfilling life centered around raising children, managing a home, and supporting a spouse may no longer be enough. If a husband remains stuck in the past, unwilling or unable to evolve with his wife, a painful realization sets in. They are no longer growing together, but growing apart. Many women spend decades putting others first, nurturing their families, ensuring household stability, and prioritizing their husband's needs over their own. But as they enter retirement or as their children become independent, a new desire begins to emerge, a longing for personal fulfillment, new experiences, and deeper emotional connections. For some women, this may mean exploring hobbies and interests they never had time for, traveling and seeking new adventures, focusing on their personal well-being and growth, building new friendships and social circles, wanting more emotional depth in their marriage. Unfortunately, many husbands fail to recognize or acknowledge this transformation. They remain comfortable with the same routines, assuming that their wives will always be content playing the same role they have for decades. This disconnect in priorities creates yet another layer of resentment. Take Helen, a 68-year-old retired librarian. For years, her life revolved around her family, raising her children, managing the household, and supporting her husband's career. But once the children moved out and retirement arrived, she found herself with time to focus on herself for the first time in years. She wanted to travel, take up painting, and join local social groups to meet new people. But every time she suggested doing something different, her husband dismissed it, saying, "I'm happy the way things are." At first, she tried to encourage him to join her, but he showed no interest. He preferred staying home, watching TV, and following the same routines. The more she tried to bring excitement and adventure into their lives, the more he resisted change. Eventually, Helen stopped asking. She stopped expecting their marriage to evolve, and instead she pursued her own interests alone. Over time, she began seeing her husband not as a partner in her new phase of life, but as an obstacle, someone who was holding her back rather than growing alongside her. A marriage cannot remain frozen in time. People change, circumstances shift, and relationships need to evolve to stay meaningful. When a husband refuses to recognize his wife's changing priorities, she starts to feel trapped in a life that no longer fulfills her. This isn't just about boredom, it's about emotional fulfillment. A woman who has spent decades supporting her family begins to ask, "What about me? What do I want from life now? Why does my husband not see or support my need for growth?" When these questions go unanswered, frustration turns into resentment. A woman starts to feel like her husband no longer understands or values who she is becoming. Instead of feeling like an equal partner in the marriage, she feels like she's outgrowing the relationship while he remains stuck in the past. Many men believe that once they have provided financial stability and a home, their role is complete. They don't realize that emotional engagement, shared experiences, and continued growth are just as essential to maintaining a strong marriage. What they fail to see is that a woman's desire for change isn't a rejection of her husband. It's a natural part of life. If he refuses to grow with her, she will eventually seek fulfillment elsewhere, through friends, personal pursuits, or even emotionally withdrawing from the marriage altogether. The good news is that this gap can be bridged, but it requires intentional effort. Here are a few ways couples can reconnect when their priorities begin to shift. Be open to change. Recognize that life after retirement or after raising children is a new chapter, and new experiences should be embraced. Support each other's growth. Even if one partner isn't interested in new activities, they should encourage and celebrate their spouse's personal development. Find new shared interests. Trying something new together, whether it's traveling, a shared hobby, or even just having deeper conversations, can reignite connection. Communicate about changing needs. Ask each other, "What do you want from life now? How can we support each other's happiness?" Step outside routine. Doing the same thing every day can make a marriage feel stagnant. Adding new activities and spontaneity can bring excitement back into the relationship. You are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable. Please comment below to let me know you are here. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of my videos. Your support helps us continue to create good content to inform and inspire you. Have you ever felt like your priorities have shifted while your partner remains the same? How do you think couples can grow together instead of growing apart? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. In our next discussion, we'll explore another major cause of resentment in long-term marriages, the slow loss of emotional and physical affection, and why it's one of the most painful changes a woman can experience. Stay tuned for more insights. In our last discussion, we explored how shifting priorities can cause emotional distance in a marriage. As women age, they seek new experiences, deeper connections, and personal fulfillment. But many husbands remain stuck in old routines, failing to evolve with their wives. This creates a painful disconnect, making women feel unheard, unseen, and emotionally unfulfilled. But there's another, even more heartbreaking shift that often follows: the gradual loss of emotional and physical affection. For many women, affection is not just about romance. It's about feeling valued, desired, and emotionally connected. When affection fades, it doesn't just create loneliness. It makes a woman feel invisible in her own marriage. In the early years of marriage, affection often comes naturally. Holding hands, sharing laughter, exchanging compliments, and embracing each other without a second thought. Small moments of warmth make a woman feel cherished and loved. But as time passes, many couples unknowingly let these expressions of love slip away. Husbands who once complimented their wives now barely notice their presence. Small gestures, like a goodnight kiss or an affectionate touch, gradually fade. Conversations become practical rather than emotional, focusing on household tasks rather than feelings and dreams. At first, a woman might dismiss these changes as part of the natural rhythm of a long-term relationship. But over time, the lack of affection turns into deep emotional loneliness, even if she and her husband are still physically together. Take Sharon, a 71-year-old retired secretary. She remembers the days when she and her husband would hold hands while walking, exchange playful smiles, and sit close together on the couch. But now, they sit in the same room but feel miles apart. They talk about bills, errands, and doctor's appointments, but never about their feelings or dreams. One evening, Sharon expressed her sadness, saying, "I miss the way things used to be. I miss feeling close to you." Her husband's response? A dismissive laugh followed by, "We're too old for all that now." And in that moment, Sharon realized he no longer saw the problem. This is the painful truth many women face. Their husbands don't even notice the emotional distance because they assume that love, once established, doesn't need to be actively maintained. But for women, affection is not a phase. It's a lifelong need. Men often assume that once they are married, the foundation of love is secure and doesn't require continuous effort. But for women, affection is not just about romance. It's about emotional security and feeling valued. When a woman receives no compliments, she wonders if she is even attractive to her husband anymore. When a woman receives no physical touch, she feels emotionally distant and unwanted. When a woman receives no deep conversation, she feels disconnected and alone. This lack of emotional and physical affection can lead to resentment, not because a woman stops loving her husband, but because she no longer feels loved in return. Many women try to fix this before giving up. They express their needs, ask for more closeness, and make an effort to reconnect. But if their requests are ignored or dismissed, they eventually stop asking. And when a woman stops asking for love, it's not because she no longer wants it. It's because she has accepted that she won't receive it. At this stage, emotional withdrawal is almost complete. A wife may still care about her husband, but the romantic, affectionate connection they once had is gone. The good news is that it's never too late to rebuild emotional and physical closeness, but it requires effort from both partners. Here are a few ways to start. Make small gestures count. A touch on the shoulder, holding hands, or a warm hug can reignite emotional connection. Give genuine compliments. A simple, "You look beautiful today," can make a woman feel seen and appreciated. Have meaningful conversations. Ask about her thoughts, feelings, and dreams, not just about daily responsibilities. Break routine and create moments of connection. Surprise date nights, weekend getaways, or even watching a movie together with genuine closeness can bring back warmth. Show interest in her needs. Ask what makes her feel loved and make an effort to meet those needs. As we journey through life and decades of marriage, one of the most profound lessons is that love is not just about presence. It's about effort, appreciation, and connection. Many women spend their lives caring for others, ensuring their families are supported, their homes are maintained, and their relationships are nurtured. But when this effort goes unnoticed, when love turns into expectation rather than gratitude, it leaves a deep emotional void. Over time, this silent struggle builds into resentment, not because love disappears, but because feeling unseen is one of the most painful experiences in a marriage. One of the greatest truths about relationships is that people change, and marriages must evolve to stay strong. Emotional intimacy, shared experiences, and simple gestures of affection don't become less important with age. They become even more essential. A kind word, a thoughtful touch, a moment of true listening can heal wounds that have built up over years. For those who feel disconnected in their marriage, the lesson is clear. Never stop making an effort to show love. It is never too late to have an honest conversation, to express gratitude, or to rekindle a lost connection. A fulfilling relationship is not about avoiding conflict or maintaining routine. It's about growing together, valuing each other, and ensuring that no one feels invisible in the partnership. The greatest gift we can give our spouse and ourselves is the reassurance that we are still cherished, still appreciated, and still deeply loved. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Please share in the comments one insight you gained and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your feedback is invaluable and keeps us motivated. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support enables us to continue creating content that informs and inspires. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.